After crossing, Suhe discovered that he had replaced the brainless villain leader in a certain fantasy novel. According to the plot, he dotes on countless things and treats them like his own daughter's disciple. While going out for training, the male protagonist actually seduces him away with a chicken leg. For the sake of the male protagonist, he would not hesitate to argue with this master. He will continue to suppress the male lead because of this matter, but never personally take action. He just keeps sending his subordinates in the style of Huluwa saving grandpa to constantly slap and upgrade the male lead. Finally, the male and female protagonists of The Dog hit the mountain gate, crushed him to death, and destroyed his sect. Master, although you are kind to me, Lin Lang and I are in love. If you stop us from falling in love, I will have to sever our ties and withdraw from the sect. Looking at the disciple in front of me, who has only gained his current status and status due to his own indulgence, speak these words of a white-eyed wolfSuhe smiled and spent countless efforts and resources on you. With just one word of mutual affection, you want to treat your master, who is like a daughter, with a broken bond and even betray your sectSo, facing the disciple who relied on his predecessor's favor and was confident in fearlessSuhe slowly spoke up and said, since that's the case, then return the supreme bone bestowed upon you by the sect. Someone, dig the bone. Chapter 1. Gratitude for Chicken Legs. You are listening at novel.Audio. Master, Qing'er is unfilial and has already made a lifelong pact with Lin Lang. I hope Master, in consideration of the fact that the disciple has been serving Master for many years, will grant the disciple freedom and allow him to marry Lin Lang. Suhe just opened his eyes. I saw a pretty girl with tears in her eyes and a beautiful face, kneeling in front of me with a pleading expression, pleading earnestly. That pitiful appearance makes one feel no disgust at all. However, upon hearing the words spoken by the young girl, Suhe couldn't help but feel the boiling blood in his chest, and a mouthful of old blood almost spurted out from his mouth. What is the situation here? Suhe's face didn't look good, and he completely didn't understand why he was so angry that he almost vomited blood because of the words of a strange woman. At the next moment, a large amount of information flooded into my mind. Suddenly, Suhe became confused. Only then did he know that he had traveled. I traveled through a fantasy novel I had read in my past life and became a major antagonist in the early and middle stages of this novel. I am the master of the martial arts Holy Land in the Eastern Wilderness and the Taishan Holy Land. In the plot, Su Qing, a disciple whom he painstakingly nurtured at all costs and regarded as his own daughter, pretended to be a beggar due to injury during an experience and was treated to a chicken leg by the male protagonist who met her on the way. Su Qing surprisingly seemed to have lost her soul and became infatuated with the male lead from then on. Even willing to rebel against Suhe, who was so grateful to her, for the sake of the male lead, and betray the holy land of Taishan. Not only that, she also gave the treasure bestowed upon her by Suhe to the male protagonist and helped him, repeatedly opposing Suhe as his master. Later on, he even helped the male lead and killed Suhe, the big villain. The most thorough one is a white-eyed wolf. And what is the male lead she loves so much about? This male protagonist is definitely a sea king. Wherever he goes, his harem opens. Betraying a master who is like a biological father, just to be a toy for a scumbag. Recalling this plot, Suhe couldn't help but vomit blood. He simply couldn't figure out how his predecessor recruited such a purebred white-eyed wolf's disciple. In the end, it came to such a tragic end. But no matter what, now he has replaced his predecessor. All the grievances of the predecessor will be inherited by Suhe. When Suhe thought about the fate of his predecessor, he could never allow himself to end up in that situation, no matter what. He wants to change his destiny, and he will never show mercy to anyone who dares to stop him. Moreover, I am not without the opportunity to change my life. As a major villain in the early and middle stages of this novel, his predecessor's strength is immeasurable, and he has a remarkable cultivation of martial respect. In the Eastern Wilderness continent, he is ranked among the top strong. In addition, he is also the head of a sect, with countless experts under his command and his influence spread throughout the entire continent. Most importantly, Suhe is familiar with the plot of this novel and possesses the power of a prophet. As soon as Suhe thought of the adventures in the plot, a hint of fierceness flashed in his eyes. As long as he intercepts those adventures, not to mention the male protagonist, even if it's a fairy descending to earth, he dares to fight against the other party. Thinking of this, Suhe looked coldly at the young girl in front of him. The young man beside her. This young man is the protagonist in the novel, Feng. He has a majestic appearance, is like a dragon and phoenix among people, and has a unique temperament. No wonder Su Qing, that white-eyed wolf, was scammed away by someone with a chicken leg. Master. Feeling Suhe's gaze, Feng remained calm and spoke humbly, "Qing'er is my beloved." Although Feng comes from an average background and has low strength, he is not worthy of her. But I, Feng, will work hard to cultivate and let Qing'er live the life she wants. What kind of thing are you, reckless? You dare to speak up here without authorization. In the sect, the elders and disciples around were all glaring at Feng, speaking out and scolding one by one. Su Qing, as the most beloved disciple of Suhe, holds the pearl in her palm and is a princess-like figure in the holy land of Tai-Xian. She is regarded as a treasure by many elders and countless disciples, holding it in her mouth and in her palm for fear of her spending it. As a result, no one expected that their little cabbage, after just going out to experience it once, would be tricked by a country boor who had never even heard of it. Who can accept this? For a moment, many elders and disciples within the sect showed their murderous intent towards Feng, wishing to dismember him on the spot. Don't bully Lin Lang. At this moment, seeing her lover being bullied, Su Qing immediately stood up and shouted at the people around her, "Lin Lang and I truly love each other. What qualifications do you have to stop us? Master, it is because of your years of nurturing me that I have informed you of this matter." Su Qing then looked at Suhe with tearful eyes, pursed her lips, and said, "If you insist on stopping us, please forgive Rao Qing'er for being unfilial. From then on, we will break free from the sect and sever our ties with it." Qing'er. Feng spoke angrily, "We truly love each other. As your fellow disciples, these people not only do not bless, but also speak ill of each other. This kind of sect, don't wait, let's go." As he spoke, he took Su Qing's hand and turned around to leave. Upon hearing these words, Suhe felt amused in his heart. What kind of nonsense is this? My own disciple is going to follow a scumbag stallion. As a fellow disciple, preventing this matter has become a mistake. Is he truly the protagonist of fate? He really has a knack for changing concepts. As soon as Suhe thought about Feng in the novel, who was surrounded and beaten by a group of people, and ultimately killed him, he didn't want to waste a second and immediately took action to crush Feng. It is still in the early stages of the novel, and Feng's strength is one of his weakest periods. At this time, if he does not take action, it will be too late for him to do so when he starts to rise up and make friends with various backgrounds in the harem. But at the moment when I was about to take action, a terrifying feeling surged out of Suhe's heart. Damn it, the heavenly way is a warning. Suhe's face was gloomy. As a major villain in the early and middle stages of the novel, Suhe also comes from an extraordinary background. It is said that his bloodline is inherited from the supreme immortal realm, so whenever he encounters danger, his bloodline will explode, making Suhe aware of the arrival of danger. In the novel, the predecessor, this major villain, hated Feng to the bone because his disciple was lured away by him. However, why didn't he crush Feng from the beginning? It was because of his bloodline warning. So, the predecessor could only continue to use various means and constantly send out troops to deal with Feng, and dared not personally take action. However, it turned out to be a gourd doll who saved his grandfather and kept sending treasures to Feng. Feng also grew rapidly due to his predecessor's behavior, and eventually led a group of harems to surround and beat Feng, completely solving him. Yes, as the protagonist of fate, Lin Feng naturally receives the protection of the heavenly way. Before he grows up, anyone who wants to kill him will encounter accidents. Not only will they ultimately not be able to kill him, but they will also become an opportunity for Lin Feng's growth. Suhe's gaze flickered, and he immediately realized that taking action now could not solve the protagonist Lin Feng, who had divine protection. However, this does not mean that Lin Feng is truly invincible. Suhe really has no way to deal with Lin Feng. Lin Feng is now the son of fate, so I cannot kill him. But what if he is not the son of fate and loses the protection of fate? Thinking of this, Suhe's face showed a hint of sneer. Chapter 2. How to Bear It. You are listening at novel.Audio. Su Qing turned around with Lin Feng and left. Inside the main hall of the sect, no one dared to stop it. Because Su Qing is Suhe's favorite disciple. In the past, no matter how big a mistake she made, Suhe would forgive without principles and instead rebuke those who reported Su Qing. Over time, Su Qing developed a rebellious personality and rampaged within the sect. Even the elders dared not provoke her at will. Stop. But at this moment, Suhe, who had not spoken yet, suddenly spoke up. Although the tone is indifferent. However, both Su Qing and Lin Feng's movements were stiff. Especially Lin Feng, his face suddenly changed drastically. Feeling a terrifying aura, I quietly locked onto him. It gives him a feeling of insignificance like ants. Sweating profusely. At this moment, Lin Feng felt the crisis of death and his face turned ugly. Master. Su Qing is also a bit panicked. Although the master has always been doting on her, everything will make her happy. But she couldn't be certain that Suhe would easily forgive such a big thing as eloping. But as soon as she thought about Suhe's past love for her, she felt certain in her heart that no matter what, the ultimate result would definitely be for her master to forgive her. After all, I am the most favored disciple of my master. Qinger, the sect has nurtured you for many years and has spent countless resources on you. In order to protect your growth, they have sacrificed countless sect disciples. Suhe stood up and walked slowly towards Su Qing, speaking in an indifferent tone. As a result, if you go outside and casually hook up with a wild man, and say love for each other, if your master stops you from falling in love, you will sever ties with the master who raised you and abandon your master. What a grateful gesture of gratitude, what a moving and filial disciple. Master, you are deeply moved by your behavior. Hear Suhe's strange words. Su Qing's face suddenly turned green and white, feeling a scorching sensation on her face. But soon, she looked angrily at Su River. Although what Suhe said was true, she couldn't refute it. But from childhood to adulthood, when did this master, who doted on her immensely, say such harsh words to her? Subconsciously, she became angry and her face turned cold. Master, if you say that again, I will really ignore you for the rest of my life. This move is ineffective after 100 attempts. In the past, whenever she responded like this, Suhe would immediately lick his face to coax her. However, Su Qing did not know that the Su River in front of her was not the Su River who had once indulged her without any bottom line. But it was replaced by a traveler. Upon hearing these words, Suhe not only had no intention of coaxing her, but also felt nauseous. My predecessor treated Su Qing as a treasure, but in Suhe's eyes, Su Qing's value was not even as good as a piece of dung. Seeing Su Qing's reaction, he felt like vomiting. Pop. So, he slapped it down directly. Looking at Su Qing indifferently, he said, I don't know what that means. Su Qing's face suddenly swelled up. Suddenly, Su Qing's eyes widened in disbelief. And the elders and disciples of the surrounding sects also stared. Everyone couldn't believe that Suhe, who regarded Su Qing as the pearl in his palm, would personally attack this disciple. How dare you take action against Su Qing? Lin Feng was even more angry at the moment, and immediately stared at Suhe with angry eyes, as if he wanted to merge with Suhe on the spot. But Suhe only glanced lightly at Lin Feng. In an instant, Lin Feng's face turned pale, his legs trembled, and he dared not say a word more. And when the elders and disciples around heard that Suhe had started to be angry with Su Qing, they no longer worried about being punished. They looked at Su Qing with disdain and took the opportunity to scold her. What a white-eyed wolf! How did the sect raise this thing like you? A shameless woman, you are also worthy of being a disciple of the sect leader. Su Qing was stunned at this moment, covering her face and her beautiful eyes rolling incessantly. She never expected that her master, who had always been extremely fond of her, would hit her. I never imagined that those fellow disciples who valued her as treasures would speak such foul language to her at this moment. Obviously, she has not reflected on her own behavior at all, only feeling that it is others who are wrong. Under injustice, she looked at Suhe with a look of resentment in her eyes. Master, this is the last time I will call you master. From now on, you and I will have no relationship as masters or apprentices, and we will be strangers. After speaking, she took Lin Feng's hand and was about to leave. If you want to leave, I can help you. But at this moment, Suhe's indifferent voice rang out again. Upon hearing these words, Su Qing felt a sense of joy in her heart, knowing that her master only spoke hard and still loved her deeply. But at the thought of the humiliation she had suffered before, Su Qing puffed up her face and didn't intend to forgive Suhe just like that. This time, Suhe must apologize 100 times in person before she can turn back. But, people can walk, but the supreme bone remains. Accompanied by the sound, there was also a flying knife that plunged directly into Su Qing's feet. Su Qing and Lin Feng suddenly froze in their movements. Suhe gave Su Qing a cold glance and a cold smile appeared on his face. The supreme bone is the highest treasure bone in the world. Those who possess the supreme bone can easily become the pride of martial arts, not only making cultivation easier, but also having several times or even dozens of times more combat power than warriors of the same rank. In addition, the supreme bone also possesses various mysterious talents and abilities. And on Su Qing's body, there is a supreme bone. However, this supreme bone was not innate to Su Qing. But it is a precious treasure that has been passed down for countless years in the Taishan Holy Land, which can be refined and absorbed into the human body, and is an artificial martial arts masterpiece. However, such a supreme bone is only one piece in the Taishan Holy Land and even in the entire East Wilderness continent. My predecessor valued Su Qing and specially bestowed this supreme bone upon her. In the original work, after Su Qing defected from the sect, his predecessor, due to his love for Su Qing, unexpectedly let Su Qing take away the supreme bone. As a result, Su Qing relied on her supreme bone to repeatedly assist Lin Feng, helping him gain countless adventures and resolve countless crises. In the end, it was thanks to this supreme bone that Lin Feng successfully killed Suhe. Now, Suhe naturally cannot allow Su Qing to take away the supreme bone, making it a weapon for Lin Feng to deal with him. He even began to doubt whether Lin Feng could still deal with himself in the future without the supreme bone. However, in the main hall of the sect, many elders and disciples were breathing rapidly. That's right, the supreme bone is the inheritance treasure of my Taishan Holy Land. How can an outsider be allowed to take it away? Su Qing, you wouldn't think that the Lord would let you take away the supreme bone. This supreme bone is not yours. The supreme bone is the highest treasure bone in the world, and its value cannot be overstated even in a city. Once the supreme bone is retrieved, it means it will become an ownerless object, and within the sect, others will also have the opportunity. Realizing this, everyone in the sect naturally became excited. Wait. Lin Feng was also panicked at the moment, gritting his teeth in anger and looking at Suhe. Master, Su Qing is your own disciple. How could you be so cruel and want to dig out her supreme bone? Before Lin Feng arrived at the Taishan Holy Land, everything was planned. With the help of Su Qing, who possessed the supreme bone, he could enter many secret realms that he had previously dared not enter. If Su Qing loses his supreme bone, all his plans will be ruined. How can he allow such a situation? Chapter 3. Is this matter serious? You are listening at novel.Audio. What else does Lin Feng want to say? This seat seems a bit too polite to you. Suhe suddenly looked at Lin Feng and said coldly, the Holy Land of Taishan is not a place where people like you can be reckless. At the moment when the words fell, the pressure emanated without any disguise, suddenly crushing the forest peak. Bang! Lin Feng could no longer bear it and knelt down on both knees. Ah! Lin Feng's eyes suddenly turned red with blood. When was he so humiliated that he knelt down in front of the enemy? At this moment, Lin Feng's resentment toward Su River was as boundless as a vast ocean. He wished he could shatter Suhe's body into countless pieces, leaving Suhe's soul in despair and unable to be reborn forever. However, despite all his resentment and realizing the gap between him and Suhe, he dared not say anything reckless at this moment. What if Suhe really hurts and kills him? Although Lin Feng is arrogant and doesn't consider anyone, he doesn't know that he has divine protection and doesn't dare to joke about his own life. The lover was insulted. This time, Su Qing seemed foolish and dared not speak recklessly. It was only at this moment that she finally realized that her beloved master seemed to have truly changed. No longer like before, everything is up to her. What made her even more incredulous was the cruel excavation of her supreme bone. Master, I. Su Qing became frightened. The pain of digging out the supreme bone is secondary. Most importantly, without the supreme bone, she would be just an ordinary person. My aptitude cannot even compare to those authentic disciples. Her qualifications were already average. If it weren't for Suhe's excessive indulgence in her at the time, he would have bestowed the supreme bone upon her. Where does she have the qualifications to be on par with the Tianjiao of the major martial arts holy sites on the Donghuang continent? No matter how foolish and sweet Su Qing is, she knows that in the eastern wilderness continent, without strength, she is nothing at all. And losing her supreme bone, her fate can be imagined. What are you? Suhe looked at Su Qing indifferently, with a hint of sneer on his lips. Why, you have voluntarily left the sect and still want to leave with the sect's treasure. Thinking so beautifully, do you really think that everyone in the world is going to revolve around you? The elders and disciples of Taishu Holy Land also gloated at Su Qing one by one. However, seeing Su Qing's expression, they also felt puzzled in their hearts. Perhaps this foolish and sweet person really thought he had left the sect and could take away the supreme bone. No matter how much the sect leader values her, it is impossible for her to do so. The supreme bone is one of the most precious inherited treasures of the Taishan Holy Land. However, these people did not know that their original sect leader had indeed made such a foolish mistake, leading to the destruction of the Taishan Holy Land, which had been passed down for countless years. Su Qing is completely speechless now. My body trembled incessantly. Looking at the knife under my feet. Even more terrifying in my heart. Even a hint of regret arose. Before showcasing with Suhe, she never considered being stripped of her supreme bone. After all, Suhe used to spoil her so much. But now, when we truly encounter this situation, Su Qing realized that it was not as simple as she imagined to have a falling out with the sect. She couldn't help but look at her lover, hoping to get his help. However, Lin Feng dared not speak up and only dared to make eye contact with her. The meaning is very clear, we must never give up the supreme bone. The supreme bone is a crucial element in many of Lin Feng's future plans and must not be lost. Su Qing's lips wriggled and her eyes were somewhat shocked. She also wants to keep the supreme bone, but you are helping yourself. What's the use of just giving oneself a glance? She couldn't help feeling impatient, and for the first time, she felt that her lover didn't seem as powerful as she had imagined. Why, haven't you started yet? On the one hand, Suhe was not in the mood to patiently wait for this dog man and woman to procrastinate. Since Su Qing has been hesitant to take action, he instructed others to do so. Brother Su, wait a moment. But at this moment, a strong aura surged in, overwhelming the sky and earth. What kind of person? How audacious! How dare you break through our sect's mountain gate? Is there no one in my Taishan holy land? The elders were suddenly shocked and angry, and one by one they became full of murderous intent. Because the person who suddenly woke up unexpectedly forcefully broke through the protective formation of the Taishan holy land and broke into the main hall. But when they saw clearly the figure suddenly appearing in the main hall, suddenly, everyone withdrew their flags and drums, their expressions of awe rising. I saw that he was a red-robed old man with white hair and a youthful appearance, giving people a feeling of kindness and high prestige. However, what makes the elders of the Taishan Holy Land honest is not their temperament, but their identity. Master of Yushu Immortal Sect, are you forcibly breaking into my Taishan Holy Land as if there is no one in my holy land? The Su River slowly opens its mouth, saying the other person's identity. The wind of Yushu Immortal Sect is too dark. It is also one of the martial arts holy sites on the present-day Donghuang continent. Although the ranking is not as good as that of the Taishan Holy Land, it is also almost the same. And the leader of Yushu sect is also a supreme warrior in the realm of martial arts. The realm is only one lower than Su River. Except for Suhe, there is naturally no one within the sect who dares to provoke this sect leader. Brother Su, forgive me. Feng was also momentarily anxious, that's why he was so presumptuous. Feng Taizong gave a dry laugh and slightly bowed to Suhe. However, this Lin Feng is a disciple just taken in by my Yushu Immortal Sect. Please, Brother Su, don't remember any wrongdoing and let him go for the sake of my Yushu Immortal Sect. For your face's sake. Su Hepi smiled and glanced at Feng Taizong without a smile. But in my mind, I recall the plot of this person. This person is indeed Lin Feng's backer in the early stage. He has helped Lin Feng several times and resolved Suhe's deadly move. In the original plot, Lin Feng was able to leave smoothly with Su Qing because he eventually came forward to solve it. For such a person, there is no doubt that Suhe is an enemy. How could Suhe care about the face of such people? However, thinking of the content in the plot, Suhe couldn't help but have a strange look at it. This guy, although he is Lin Feng's backer, his fate is not very good. As the protagonist of fate in fantasy novels, Lin Feng naturally cannot escape the fate of disaster stars. Wherever you go, disaster will happen. Whatever sect you join, it won't be long before that sect faces a crisis of extinction, leaving only Lin Feng and his harem to escape from the heavens. In the original plot, the Yushu Immortal Sect was also destroyed due to the enemies provoked by Lin Feng. Feng Taizong also saved Lin Feng with his own life in the end, blocking his gun and dying. Master. Lin Feng, kneeling on the ground, was so excited that tears welled up in his eyes when he saw his support come. Suddenly, he regained his confidence and immediately exclaimed, Master Taishan has been deceiving others too much. He even wants to dig out Qing'er's supreme bone. Please make the decision for your disciple and Qing'er. Su Qing suddenly felt a sense of joy in her heart. She didn't expect her lover to have such a big backing. In that case, there may still be a turning point in today's situation. Upon hearing this, Feng Taizong couldn't help but frown and look at Suhe, saying, Brother Su, is this matter serious? Chapter 4. True Width of Management. You are listening at novel.Audio. Brother Feng, you may have been too lenient in your management. Seeing the look in Feng Taizong's eyes, Suhe couldn't help but sneer. This old fox has long been aware of the causes and consequences of this matter, but deliberately pretending not to understand. Suhe is not sure where, but the other party also wants Lin Feng to bring Su Qing, who has the supreme bone, to the Wushu immortal sect. Such a hypocritical person, how could such a big face show such questioning eyes towards themselves? Anyway, it would be too cruel for Sheng to dig out the supreme bone from his body. Feng Taizong pretended not to understand, showing a look of unbearable expression. Brother Su, how can you say that Su Qing is also a disciple you have trained for many years? Can you bear her to suffer so much pain? That's right, it's just years of love. Master Su, people say you spoil Qing'er. How could you do such a heinous thing to Qing'er? With a backer present, Lin Feng could no longer hold back and immediately took the opportunity to accuse Su He. The disciples around seemed to be moved by the two of them, and many of them also showed an unbearable expression, feeling that it was too cruel for Sheng to dig out bones. Seeing that the situation was beginning to benefit her, Su Qing's face immediately lit up with joy. I think, if nothing unexpected happens, perhaps my supreme bone can be preserved. Master, you should not risk the influence of leaving a bad reputation and forcibly deprive yourself of your supreme bone. However, Brother Feng, are these the disciples of your Wushu immortal sect? A mere ant in the martial arts realm, what gives him the courage to question the leader of my Taishan Holy Land in my Taishan Holy Land? Suhe spoke coldly, no big or small, I don't understand hierarchy. Feng Taizong's face slightly changed, and then he looked at Lin Feng with some dissatisfaction in his heart. Although he admires Lin Feng, he doesn't have to leave everything to Lin Feng. On this occasion, he had a conversation with Su He, the patriarch of the two major holy sites. Lin Feng dared to interrupt at will and even rudely questioned a patriarch about his identity. Such unruly behavior, if it were to spread. I'm afraid the whole world will laugh at Wushu immortal sect, thinking that its disciples are uncivilized, rude and vulgar people. Feng Taizong's face didn't look good and he scolded, Lin Feng, hurry up and apologize to Master Su. Lin Feng widened his eyes, never expecting that his own sect leader would say such words. Make yourself apologize. And he also apologized to the Taishan sect leader who had just humiliated him, this is simply unreasonable. You are too windy, which side are you standing on? In a fit of anger, Lin Feng froze on the spot and didn't obey Feng Taizong's orders for a moment. Such behavior naturally made Feng Taizong feel dissatisfied. Lin Feng, don't you apologize yet? Feng Taizong's face darkened. He originally admired Lin Feng very much, so he came to the Taishan Holy Land to save people. However, he didn't expect that this valued disciple would not even listen to the orders of his sect leader. For a moment, his love for Lin Feng's talent couldn't help but cast a shadow over him. Genius disciples are certainly rare, but if we accept a genius who does not understand the importance of respecting teachers and values the Tao, is disloyal and unfilial, then it would be unwillingness for anyone else. Feeling the dissatisfaction of the patriarch, Lin Feng suddenly realized that something was wrong. The reason why he can be safe now is because Feng Taizong is present. If Feng Taizong is dissatisfied with him, then he will be ruined. Yes, I'm sorry, Master Su. Reluctantly, Lin Feng was ultimately forced to apologize to Su He. Just as he finished speaking, a hint of resentment appeared in his eyes. This resentment is not only towards Su He, but also towards Feng Taizong, the leader who has humiliated him. Feng Taizong is such a person, an unparalleled powerhouse in the realm of martial arts. Lin Feng, an ant in the martial arts realm, cannot hide any reaction from him. I naturally noticed the resentment in Su He's eyes. This time, Feng Taizong couldn't help frowning. The first time I had doubts, I felt like I was seeing the wrong person. Is Lin Feng really suitable for being valued so much by himself? Although he had done something wrong and pointed it out, he didn't sincerely admit his mistake and instead blamed himself as the sect leader. Such a person, if cultivated, may not be another white-eyed wolf like Su Qing. For a while, Feng Taizong's level of importance towards Lin Feng couldn't help but decrease by a few points, and even began to become wary. Seeing this, Suhe couldn't help but flash a faint smile in his eyes. His goal has been achieved. That's right, Suhe deliberately instigated the relationship between Feng Taizong and Lin Feng. After careful consideration, Suhe knew that if he wanted the other party's destiny to protect Lin Feng, the only way was to deprive Lin Feng of his destiny. The way to deprive fate is to constantly deprive Lin Feng of opportunities that should have belonged to him. These opportunities can include his adventures, women, and his backers. The wind is too dark, and it belongs to Lin Feng as the protagonist's great support. With his help, Lin Feng was able to overcome several crises that almost cost him his life. But if Feng Taizong no longer values Lin Feng, it is impossible to make a move that would rather sacrifice his life to protect Lin Feng. In this way, how should Lin Feng's major crises be resolved? Even if it is ultimately resolved, his luck will decline. Similarly, depriving Su Qing of her supreme bone is also a means of suppressing Lin Feng's fortune. As long as he does such things too much, little makes a lot. Over time, Lin Feng will naturally lose his divine protection and become an ordinary person. At that time, Suhe can easily completely kill Lin Feng, the son of fate. As for Su Qing, Suhe spoke calmly, this woman has already left the sect on her own, and she has cut off all ties with our sect. Our sect leader has taken back the precious treasure of our sect. Why not? Or rather, Brother Feng also wanted to plot against the supreme bone of my Tai Xian holy land, that's why he spoke up to stop this matter. As soon as these words were spoken, Feng Taizong suddenly changed his color. He came too late and did not know that Su Qing had severed ties with Suhe. He did not know about this matter and only then began to plead for mercy. Now that she knew the truth, Feng Taizong suddenly realized something was wrong and quickly spoke up, Brother Su, I have no intention of doing so. Feng Taizong dare not admit the accusation of plotting against other sect treasures. Otherwise, once confirmed, from now on, the reputation of the Yushu immortal sect will be completely tarnished. On the land of Donghuang, it is not only the Taishan holy land that has inherited treasures, but other sects also have them. Yushu immortal sect, if you dare to attack the Taishan holy land today, pay attention. If you dare to attack other sects tomorrow, pay attention. Once such a thing is exposed, the Jade Void immortal sect is afraid that it will soon fall to the point where everyone is shouting and fighting. Feng Taizong naturally dare not admit such a thing. He couldn't help but smile bitterly on his face. Speaking these words, he knew that he couldn't stop Su Qing from being stripped of her supreme bone. Feng Taizong couldn't help but secretly curse Su Qing and Lin Feng, these two idiots, in her heart. Can't you two secretly collude with each other? We must expose this matter. It's really foolish beyond reach. For a while, Feng Taizong's emphasis on Lin Feng once again decreased significantly. Such a foolish person, even if he has some talent, is not worth cultivating. I hear the wind say so. Su Qing and Lin Feng both trembled with despair on their faces. Even Feng Taizong doesn't stand on their side, this time they have no chance to resist again. Damn it. Chapter 5. Drawing the Sword. You are listening at novel.Audio. Everything is a foregone conclusion. Successfully stirred up the relationship between Feng Taizong and Lin Feng. A faint smile flashed in Suhe's eyes. His bloodline gave him a premonition. That is Lin Feng's luck, which has significantly declined. The evidence is that when Suhe once again became hostile towards Lin Feng, the degree of bloodline warning is clearly not as strong as before. This indicates that Suhe's plan to deprive Lin Feng of his destiny is effective. Since that was the case, Suhe no longer hesitated and looked coldly at Su Qing. Do you want to do it yourself or let others do it? No. Su Qing shook her head frantically and looked at Suhe in terror. Master, you can't do this to me. Have you forgotten that you are the one who dotes on me the most? When I was a child, I was sick, and you stayed up 7 days and nights, taking care of me personally. Seeing Su Qing soften, he called himself master again. Suhe felt even more ridiculous and said, "Don't call me that. I'm not your master now. You also know how much I favored and trusted you back then, but how did you repay me? I have been taking care of you for many years, but you have to sever ties with me because of a wild man whom I have only known for a few days. It's also good for you, a white-eyed wolf, to withdraw from the sect as soon as possible. It's also a great thing for our sect and the Taishan Holy Land. In the future, I invite you to harm the Yushu immortal sect." Su Qing's face turned pale, and it was even harder to see the extreme on her face. Faced with Suhe's blunt criticism, she couldn't say a word more. And when Feng Taizong heard Suhe's words, his expression also became somewhat unnatural. In his old eyes, he couldn't help but look at Su Qing with some disbelief. I didn't expect this Su Qing to be so top-notch. It's hard to describe her ungrateful behavior as a white-eyed wolf. Upon hearing Suhe openly say that he wanted to send this white-eyed wolf to his Yushu immortal sect, Feng Taizong's lips twitched. He doesn't want to accept such a white-eyed wolf into the sect. Moreover, this white-eyed wolf is about to be deprived of the supreme bone. At that time, she will be a woman with ordinary qualifications. What qualifications does she have to enter their Jade Void immortal sect? Since you refuse to take action. Suhe spoke lightly and said, "Isin, it's up to you, the master sister, to do it yourself." "Yes, master." A cold voice sounded. Subsequently, everyone saw a stunning beauty with an extremely cold temperament slowly walking out from behind Suhe. She has a delicate and flawless face, clear eyes like water, and a slender body, without any flaws. This is a beauty who even surpasses Su Qing in terms of beauty. However, her temperament was too cold to the bone, cold to the death, and her methods were ruthless, making no one dare to look at her directly. As a result, the vast majority of people in the sect ignored her beauty and only remembered her strength and coldness. Feng Yisin, the eldest disciple of Suhe, is also the only person in the novel who remains loyal to Suhe. In the end, he even sacrificed his own life for Suhe and died under the command of the protagonist Lin Feng. In the original work, although Suhe was the leader of the Taishan Holy Land, he was a major villain who failed to take it seriously. Even within the Taishan Holy Land, the vast majority of disciples were not loyal to Suhe, but only served him due to his strength. At the end, the struggle between Suhe and Lin Feng showed signs of decline, and Suhe immediately betrayed and became estranged. As a result, the only subordinate he could bring out was Feng Yisin, the eldest disciple. However, in the novel, Suhe did not attach much importance to this eldest disciple and instead placed all his emotions on Su Qing, a disloyal and unfilial white-eyed wolf disciple. Until the end, he showed mercy to Su Qing and did not even glance at Feng Yisin. Suhe naturally wouldn't make the same mistake as his predecessor. Instead of cultivating loyal disciples, he would cultivate a white-eyed wolf, which is simply beyond his reach. As Suhe watched the eldest disciple walk out, he fell silent for a moment before saying, "Yisin, from now on, the supreme bone will be inherited by you." Once this statement is made, in an instant, the whole room was in an uproar. Feng Yi's heart and body also trembled, and a look of disbelief couldn't help but appear in his flawless eyes at this moment. No one expected that Suhe would suddenly announce that Feng Yisin would inherit the supreme bone. Even Feng Yisin did not expect it. She had long understood that her master did not attach much importance to her, far less than 1/1000th of Su Qing, the young junior sister. In her imagination, after depriving the supreme bone, Suhe would either collect it into the sect's treasury or bestow it upon others for refinement. But no matter what, Suhe never thought that he would bestow the supreme bone on him. Is it true that the master has finally begun to value himself? Feng Yisin's heart trembled, and deep emotions couldn't help but appear in her eyes. The jade hand couldn't help but tighten its sword, and at this moment, a resolute expression appeared in its eyes. Master treats her with sincerity, and in this lifetime, she will never violate any orders from her master. She will use her own life to sweep away all enemies for her master. No, why should I hand over my supreme bone to her? I am not convinced. Upon hearing this command, Su Qing's face became unprecedentedly ugly. She has always been hostile towards this powerful senior sister. Because this senior sister is more beautiful and powerful than her, in the hearts of everyone in the sect, Feng Yisen is stronger than her everywhere. However, despite this, the master doted on her even more, which made Su Qing feel superior in front of Feng Yisen in the past. No matter how excellent you are, my master won't give you a second glance. Instead, he has given me all his love, which shows that you are not worthy of being compared to me. Now, seeing Su He, he actually wants to bestow the supreme bone on Feng Yisen. Su Qing finally panicked. She finally realized that Su He's affection for her had completely disappeared. And it also shifted to her senior sister, whom she had always been very hostile towards. Having the supreme bone, she cannot compare to the senior sister. Once the supreme bone is transferred to the senior sister, she will have even less qualifications to compete with Feng Yisen. No, she will never accept such a result. But the next moment, a cold and bone-chilling aura enveloped Su Qing's body. Su Qing was frightened and immediately closed her eyes. She saw a look in Feng Yisen's cold eyes that seemed to be looking at a dead person. Faced with her junior sister, Feng Yi's eyes showed no mercy, but rather seemed to be watching an enemy who never dies. Her gaze was as if she was about to break her to pieces and couldn't give up easily. With Feng Yisen's loyalty to Su He, seeing Su Qing's despicable behavior as a white-eyed wolf. How could it be that this guy doesn't have a murderous heart? Especially after receiving Su He's promise, Feng Yisen's hatred towards Su Qing reached its extreme. At this moment, her killing intent was stronger than ever before, and she had never felt so profound in her life. So she took a step forward directly. Draw your sword. Faced with such terrifying gazes, Su Qing, a weak woman who had never encountered a real crisis, couldn't bear it. Suddenly frightened and dumbfounded, Huarong screamed in shock, You don't want to come over. Chapter 6. Granting the Supreme Bone. You are listening at novel.Audio. The cold blade flickered with a cold light. Feng Yisen slowly approached Su Qing, every step as if stepping on her heart, heavy as ever. Junior sister, your master has already shown you the utmost kindness and righteousness. Do you really think that his kindness towards you over the years is justified? As a disciple of the Taishan Holy Land, I occupy so many cultivation resources but have made no achievements. I only compete with others' jealousy and vanity. I didn't expect to bring a wild man from outside who doesn't know where to come from. This supreme bone, both in emotion and reason, should not be placed on you. The disciples from all over the sect who had been dissatisfied with Su Qing for many years clenched their fists. These words have touched their hearts. Due to Su He's face and dignity, disciples and elders in the sect dared not discuss Su Qing in public. But the accumulation of contradictions can lead to qualitative changes. Due to years of favoritism, Su He often favored Su Qing when making decisions in the sect. Pills, spiritual treasures, secret scriptures, and other items were also first used by Su Qing among the true disciples. Within the Taishan Holy Land, there is more than just the Su River. Over time, many elders within the sect began to have objections to Su He. However, the other party has a high level of cultivation, and even if they are dissatisfied in their hearts, they cannot express it. But today, several elders let out a long sigh while caressing their beards. Discuss with each other below. If the patriarch can dig out the supreme bone today, it can be considered a realization. Yeah, the sect leader's cultivation is top-notch. If I can't figure it out on a small female disciple all year round, then I really have to go to another holy land. Fortunately, the sect leader got lost and found a way out. Without this woman in the future, it is estimated that the atmosphere within the sect will be much quieter when they speak, although they are whispering below. But he did not shy away from Suhe and Su Qing. It is obvious that some words are praising Su River, indicating one's attitude. There are still some words to say to Su Qing, specifically to disgust her. After being angry with this slut for so many years, today the disciples and elders in the sect say a few words about her. It's really not a big deal. Su Qing was furious, pointing at them and wanting to curse. However, the threat from Feng's heart made her feel like a mountain that could not be moved. Even speaking is extremely difficult. Despite being fellow disciples, they have been practicing together for many years, and the resources they enjoy are even several levels higher than those of Feng Yisen. But as Feng Yisen said, Su Qing has been focusing on teasing her head, being jealous, and comparing herself to vanity for many years. The cultivation level is actually much worse than the Yisen. This has led to Feng Yi's desire to take her supreme bone now, without any pressure at all. Just move your fingers to finish. Feng Yisen, you slut. Unable to resist, Su Qing could only shed tears and tears, constantly shouting and cursing while lying on all fours. Like a shrew cursing at the village entrance. Shwa. The blade entered the body, and a hot substance flowed out of the body, scattering on the ground. It's Su Qing's blood. Ah. At this moment, Feng Yisen's fear finally reached its limit. She screamed loudly with a breakdown of emotions. Lin Lang. Lin Lang. Help me ah. Lin Feng frowned slightly, looking at her shrewd appearance. In fact, his liking for Su Qing was rapidly fading away in his heart. Suhe nodded in satisfaction when he saw this scene. First, it destroyed the relationship between Lin Feng and Feng Taizong. Now it has caused a rift in his relationship with Su Qing. The first few steps of this boy, the son of fate, have already gone astray. How much authenticity is there in his destiny? Below the main hall, although Lin Feng was already disgusted by this woman with tears streaming down her face, her complexion fading, and her appearance difficult to control. But you still need to pretend to be a hypocrite. After all, he has just embarked on the path of cultivation. If he had revealed his dark side in front of the big shots he met from various factions, perhaps those people would not have helped him. Thinking of this, Lin Feng gritted his head and quickly looked at the Wind Tu Tsang. Feng Taizong stood in the distance, watching everyone at the scene pointing fingers at Su Qing Qianfu. At this moment, he had already been silent. They are righteous and prestigious, and if they forcefully take action in this situation, it's going to make a terrible scene when it's rumored. Faced with Lin Feng's request, he just furrowed his brow and shook his head slowly. Signal Lin Feng not to wade in this muddy water. In this way, he can at least save this kid. As for that woman, she no longer has any value. Even if you die, it doesn't matter. As a rare animal in the future cultivation world, Lin Feng, as the son of fate, now understands the meaning of Feng Taizong. Lowering his head, he pretended not to hear Su Qing's shout. Silent. At this moment, a burst of ridicule echoed from the crowd. I thought it was so affectionate that even if the Taoist couple's supreme bone was taken, they could still stand beside and enjoy it. He is also a talented person with a good heart, he can tolerate it too much. I'm afraid I'll just endure it and get angry to death. Children like this who are destined to be humiliated can generally be motivated to strive for cultivation. But this matter is indeed Lin Feng's lack of courage, so timid that he dare not say a word. Once he takes this matter to heart, it feels like a thorn in his throat. In the future, it is very likely to form a mind demon and become an obstacle on the path of cultivation. This is also Suhe's third move to destroy his luck. Faced with everyone's ridicule, Feng Taizong also saw that something was wrong. After hesitating for a moment, he still spoke up. Suhe, I'll take this kid away first. With a wave of the big sleeve, the wind Tutsong lifted a clear breeze in place. I am ready to leave with Lin Feng. But in the next moment, the rising flames suddenly emerged from mid-air, following the gentle breeze and entwined around Lin Feng's side. Two flames formed, blocking his way. What are you going for? Since you are her mistress, then there will be a beginning and an end. After running halfway, are you still considered a human? Suhe's statement is continuing to pressure Lin Feng's mentality. The other party has not reached the critical point yet. Only when humiliation exceeds his capacity can his moral heart be shattered. So he can't leave. Lin Feng's teeth are about to break. Raise your head and stare angrily at Su River with wide eyes. The wind on the side was too strong and startled. Suhe, why are you here? At this moment, a golden light floated in the sky. A golden dragon aura emerged. The supreme bone was dug out by Feng. This dragon aura seems to have been suppressed for too long. As soon as Su Qing was released from her confinement, she let out a deafening roar with joy. Su Qing's face shed 2 lines of blood and tears. So far, she still doesn't know why she just wanted to pursue happiness, but ended up like this. Suhe raised his hand, and the supreme bone was instantly suppressed by a powerful force. The golden dragon aura enveloped his palm. Walking down the hall, Suhe didn't take a second glance at Su Qing and came to Feng. Feng, connect to the supreme bone. Disciple, thank you, Master. Chapter 7. Lin Feng's Reliance. You are listening at novel.Audio. Feng was extremely excited and knelt on the ground with devout hands holding the supreme bone. Golden lights surround the body, emitting endless power in mid-air. The faces of the disciples around all showed envy. But there was no jealousy or resentment. Because Feng, as the senior sister of the Tai Xian Holy Land, does have the strength and qualifications to take this supreme bone. By comparison, when Su Qing received the supreme bone, she just took it and left. There was no gratitude at all, but instead, relying on Suhe's favor, he became even more negligent. Even the next morning's practice was directly absent. When the elder in charge of morning practice found her, she was resting in the cave. According to her description, the supreme bone can help her practice on its own. Even if you don't take the initiative to practice, it's okay. The elder in charge of cultivation was so angry that he blew his beard and stared at her, but he couldn't do anything about her. Later, due to a significant gap in cultivation between her and her peers, she approached Suhe to request elixirs. At that time, Suhe was simply taking everything from her. The precious pill was placed on Su Qing's body, coupled with the strength of the supreme bone, finally allowing her cultivation to catch up with that of an ordinary disciple. Now thinking about it, placing the supreme bone on her body is simply a waste. Suhe had no doubt that even by embedding this bone in a chicken, it could have become a spirit bird over the years. Suhe, you've gone too far. Do you know who entrusted me to come here this time? I saw that Suhe actually took out the supreme bone and gave it to his disciples. Feng Taizong spoke angrily. Who do I care who entrusted you with? The wind is too dark, I am too mysterious and sacred, and it's not your turn to speak up here. Feng Taizong straightened her waist and slowly said a name. Hehe, aren't you even afraid of Daotian's sect? Upon learning that it was the Daotian sect's move, Suhe frowned slightly. The Daotian sect is a sect that has a longer history than the Taishan Holy Land. It existed thousands of years ago and has an incredibly profound heritage. The disciples around also began to discuss. I remember Gu Qingxian, the leader of Daotian sect, was about to break through to the realm of martial saint. How could this kid climb up to such an existence? It's over, isn't this going to provoke others? The realm of this world can be divided into martial disciples, martial masters, martial kings, martial masters, martial saints, and martial emperors. Each great realm is divided into 10 levels. Going further up is breaking the void and entering a higher world. But due to limited resources, even the martial arts realm is rare on the entire continent. The invincible powerhouse of the martial saint realm has not appeared for hundreds of years. The existing monsters in the world are those that have lived for hundreds of years through secret methods and blockades. Suhe is currently in the realm of wolfSuhe, but there is still a distance to go before he can be promoted to wolfSuhe. However, Gu Qingxian is known as the most talented person in the Dao Tian sect for thousands of years. Suhe's mouth curved into a sneer. Until the world developed, he naturally knew the other party's reliance. With a cold snort, Suhe said. Why, it's a person from the Dao Tian sect who asked you to come over specifically and steal the supreme bone of my Taishan holy land with this kid. Suhe, don't spit blood out. Feng Taizong heard the dirty water splashed by the Su River and immediately spoke loudly. This supreme bone was promised by Su Qing to be together and given to Lin Feng. Hush. When they heard this sentence, all the disciples of the Tai Xian Holy Land stared angrily at Su Qing. The ultimate treasure of the sect actually said to give it away as soon as possible. Do you really think this sect was opened by her family? What can she decide, the supreme bone of my Tai Xian Holy Land? Su Qing is so shameless, licking her face and giving it away to others. Cheap woman. We've really raised a white-eyed wolf. Suhe actually knew for a long time why Lin Feng approached Su Qing. If it weren't for the supreme bone inside the body, Lin Feng wouldn't even glance at Su Qing. The reason why I put a lot of effort into being with the other person. I just hope that this bone can be used for myself and become a benefit on the path of cultivation. The supreme bone has never belonged to Su Qing, what right does she have to dispose of it? Feng Taizong, can you say these words? Did you practice until you went crazy and hurt your brain? Suhe sneered twice and began to mock him. Feng Taizong immediately stood on the moral high ground and strongly rebuked Suhe. The Taishan Holy Land is so untrustworthy. Your actions are simply laughable. I don't know what this kid has to do with the Dao Tian sect, but anyone who dares to covet the treasure of the Taishan Holy Land will have to pay a price. As he spoke, a mysterious pattern immediately appeared around Suhe's body. He has already connected to the Tai Xian sword formation. This is one of their mountain protection formations, in charge of killing and attacking. Suhe, don't bully people too much. Feng Taizong saw that Suhe was about to take action seriously and quickly shouted loudly. This is in the other party's territory, and once you take action, it will be very detrimental to yourself. So what about bullying you? Suhe laughed heartily. The power of the great formation of the Taishan Holy Land has begun to overwhelm Feng Taizong without any hesitation. Puff. The wind blew out a mouthful of blood. Standing below, Lin Feng felt a bit flustered. Lowering his head, a hint of disgust flashed on his face. I didn't expect the senior I brought with me to be so useless. In just a few words, we started fighting each other, but we couldn't beat Suhe. Looking at Feng Taizong's appearance, Suhe also pursed his lips, his face full of disdain. He found that the wind was too dark and his mind seemed to be not very clear. Although there was no reason to stay, he still wanted to help Lin Feng speak. Is this the protagonist's halo? If he were to know about the future fate of the Jade Void Immortal sect, will this guy still help Lin Feng like he does now? Unfortunately, Suhe had no obligation to tell him everything that happened afterwards. Even if the sect was destroyed, it was all his own fault. If it weren't for Feng Taizong forcefully kneeling and licking the heavenly sect, they wouldn't have had any relationship with Lin Feng. Not to mention the downfall of the sect in the future, it is absolutely impossible. It's really fun to see Suhe playing with him. Feng Taizong took a deep breath, his voice trembling, and he threatened Suhe with a stern expression. I'll tell you, Dao Tian's sect won't let you go. Just let them come, preferably let Gu Qingxian come in person. I have long wanted to see if she has truly entered the ranks of quasi-saints. Suhe smiled, remembering that Dao Tian's sect was just a foothold on Lin Feng's path of cultivation. Later on, due to Lin Feng's instigation, several major forces around began to resent the Dao Tian sect. Lin Feng reached a certain level of cultivation here, then patted his butt and left. He also took away the patriarch Gu Qingxian, because the other person's body of the Tao can assist him in his cultivation. The Dao Tian sect was originally a prominent sect in its heyday. After the patriarch left, the mess left by Lin Feng was beyond the control of the people of Dao Tian's sect. Finally, he was besieged by the forces of several major enemies, and his territory was partitioned clean. Chapter 8. It's the same for everyone. You are listening at novel.Audio. Overnight, it fell into a third-rate sect with less than 100 disciples, all of whom were at the bottom of the cultivation world. It can be said to be a tragic and sorrowful situation. The son of destiny is like this: whoever gets involved will have bad luck. All his luck will be sucked away by him. Lin Lang, let's not argue with them anymore. You can take me away. At this moment, shameless Su Qing came to Lin Feng's side again. I want to go to the Yushu immortal sect with Lin Feng. Let's just forget it. You can find a place to rest and take care of yourself. Lin Feng's face showed a look of disgust, but he still spoke very well. Seeing this, Su Qing also understood the meaning. Without the supreme bone, she is nothing now. Are you a heartless person trying to leave me behind? Su Qing's eyes were red and she was in a hurry, screaming in anger. Suhe laughed on the side. It seems that you are not foolish either. The outcome you have now is in line with your choices. Don't be reckless. She looked like she was about to charge towards Lin Feng, with a look of dying together. Feng Taizong snorted coldly and flew it out directly. I learned that Lin Feng no longer wanted me. Su Qing quickly knelt in front of Suhe. Master, please accept my disciple for the sake of serving you for many years. Suhe didn't even glance at her and said to Feng Yisin, clear out the eye-catching goods. Yes. Su Qing was quickly dragged down. As for what will happen to Su Qing in the future, it has nothing to do with Suhe. The other party doesn't understand gratitude, and Suhe won't give her any more opportunities. Master, please give me another chance. Su Qing's voice gradually faded away. Seeing this scene, Lin Feng was extremely angry. Senior, without the supreme bone, that matter would be difficult to handle. Lin Feng raised his head and spoke to Feng Taizong with an extremely ugly expression. Upon hearing this, Feng Taizong frowned slightly. He found that Lin Feng didn't seem to be the kind of person who values emotions. It can be seen from his attitude towards Su Qing. What kind of love? This is completely a utilization. Is he doing the same to himself? Although the senior shouted loudly, there was no longer the initial respect. Even the tone began to become somewhat urgent. This made Feng Taizong's heart unable to help but feel a hint of doubt. Don't worry, take another look. He whispered to Lin Feng, ready to appease him first. Suhe watched their reaction and a cold smile curved his lips. He knew why Feng Taizong had to forcibly seize the supreme bone when he came over this time. Because the supreme bone is related to the 9-turn phoenix egg. The original development was when Lin Feng took Su Qing away from the Taishan Holy Land. After obtaining the supreme bone inside Su Qing's body, Lin Feng threw it at the Jade Void Immortal sect. Once you obtain the supreme bone, you will not be spared by the Taishan Holy Land. So Suhe ordered the pursuit of Lin Feng. Under the protection of Feng Taizong, he entered the 100,000 mountains in the northern part of Yuzhou, searching for opportunities. With the power of the supreme bone obtained from Su Qing, Lin Feng found Jiuzhuan Phoenix Egg. This egg later hatched into a woman named Ni Huangyu. Without any surprise, it also became his harem. Together with Lin Feng, eliminate all the experts from the Taishan Holy Land who are pursuing them one by one. As for Ni Huang Yu's ability, it is even more incredible. Carrying Phoenix essence and blood, not to mention her 9 transformations holy flame body can assist cultivators in sexual intercourse, purifying the true elements in her body and condensing them to a near substantial level. In the realm of practice, there will also be a huge gap in the same realm. This is because some people's true essence is more solid than other strong individuals in the same realm. Lin Feng is a strong person who relies on the power of Ni Huang Yu, constantly cultivates, and even surpasses the level to challenge the Taishan Holy Land and pursue. And now without the supreme bone, his chances naturally cannot be obtained. Don't worry. Feng Taizong took a deep breath and realized the seriousness of the problem. The commission he received from the Daotian sect was to help Lin Feng obtain the supreme bone and successfully hatch the 9-turned phoenix egg. Only the ancient aura remaining in the supreme bone can successfully hatch the phoenix egg. Suhe, you must hand over this supreme bone today. Taking a deep breath, Feng Taizong stubbornly spoke up. I said no. Also, if you dare to continue asking, I don't mind letting your Yushu immortal sect exterminate today. The voice of Su River is extremely cold. Seeing this, Feng Taizong had no choice but to take out the Chuanin jade plaque. Okay, then you can wait for me. As he spoke, a black shadow had quickly descended from the sky. The Taishan Holy Land is so majestic. Even the children and daughters of our disciples have a strong affection for each other. As a master, do you have to intervene? What has come here is a crow that speaks human words, probably someone's refined spiritual pet. Where did you come from? Suhe looked coldly at the crow, with a hint of displeasure on his face. I am the elder of the Daotian sect, Swolengen. On the orders of the sect leader, I have asked you to hand over the supreme bone. After the matter is completed, there will definitely be some benefits for you. What benefits? Suhe spoke with a hint of sarcasm at the corner of his mouth. I can give you 3 drops of 9 transformations phoenix essence blood. The crow's gentle and seductive opening seemed to have bestowed great benefits on Suhe. Phoenix essence and blood are treasures that can defy the heavens and improve one's qualifications. It is said that a phoenix only has a few drops on its body. And the alliance between Daotian sect and Yushu immortal sect is to bring about this kind of thing. Take the opportunity to help Lin Feng practice. Suhe, 3 drops of phoenix essence and blood are definitely enough to exchange for your supreme bone. Don't be disrespectful. At this moment, Lin Feng saw someone from Tianzong coming to help. My waist straightened and I immediately jumped out, with a hint of arrogance on my face. Having someone to support it is different. Seeing this, Feng Taizong's evaluation of him was a bit lower. Just now, Feng Taizong and Suhe faced each other and fell into a disadvantage. Lin Feng crouched next to him and didn't dare to fart. Now that the people of Daotian sect have arrived, his attitude has changed so quickly. These people who navigate the wind are really a bit despicable. Thinking of this, Feng Taizong frowned. Faced with such temptation, Suhe remained unmoved. Get lost. Pinch it casually. The crow in front of me shattered and turned into a wisp of smoke, disappearing into mid-air. Now, Feng Taizong was stunned. Lin Feng widened his eyes. All the disciples present were also shocked and speechless. After a long time, Feng Taizong hurriedly shouted. Suhe, you're crazy. How dare you touch the people of Daotian sect? The strength of Daotian sect is even stronger than that of Taishan Holy Land. Suhe dared to provoke like this. Once they form a grudge, they will inevitably never stop dying. Get out of here too, don't let me say it again. Suhe has become extremely disgusted with them. Just 3 drops of phoenix essence and blood, I just want to kill myself. Chapter 9. Giving opportunities you are not useful. You are listening at novel.Audio. We also need to exchange for the supreme bone. For them, there was no effort at all. Just take out the essence and blood when the 9-turn phoenix egg hatches. Putting such a simple matter in their mouths was like Suhe taking a huge advantage. It's just a white wolf in an empty hand. Suhe, you are disrespectful to Dao Tian's sect. At this point, Lin Feng beside him was already anxious. He must have the supreme bone and phoenix essence blood to help him cultivate. I missed this time, and I won't have such a good opportunity again in the future. Angry, he chose the stupidest way. Overpower others with force. But he didn't understand that Suhe was the last to eat this kind of thing. With a cold snort, an invisible pressure instantly fell from the sky. With almost no obstacles, Lin Feng was pressed to the ground under heavy pressure. Suhe sneered and said, with your cultivation as a martial artist, you still want to obtain the supreme bone. Do you deserve it? Lin Feng stared angrily at Su River. Tiandao's sect will find a way to merge me with the supreme bone. Upon hearing these words, Suhe sneered loudly. Even a broken bone requires someone else to help you. How useless are you? Upon seeing this, Feng Taizong next to him immediately said. The supreme bone not only tests one's cultivation, but also one's will, to see if they can have the will to overcome obstacles and achieve the position of supreme on the path of cultivation. His statement is even more absurd. Suhe knows very well. What kind of despicable means did Lin Feng use to achieve supreme cultivation along the way? Test the will of such people. It's really ridiculous. You're probably not dreaming. Suhe gave Feng Taizong a cold glance and stopped talking. Upon seeing this, Feng Taizong directly spoke up. Suhe, if you have the courage, let him try. Feng Taizong thinks very well, as long as Lin Feng can merge with the supreme bone. With one's own strength, one can definitely take him away. When the mission of the Heavenly Tao sect is completed, one can also receive phoenix essence and blood. Feng Yisin, let him give it a try. Under the gaze of everyone, Suhe did not hesitate at all, and immediately the other party spoke with interest. Feng Yisin nodded slowly and then came to Lin Feng with the supreme bone. But at this moment, Lin Feng hesitated a bit. Senior, Watching him with such a muddy appearance that he couldn't support the wall, Feng Taizong was taken aback for a moment. Then he quickly spoke to him using the method of transmitting information. As long as you can merge with the supreme bone, I will take you away. Let's go directly to the 100,000 Great Mountains. Even the Taishan Holy Land cannot stop us. Seeing that the other party has already proposed this method. At this moment, Lin Feng's face was very ugly. He has no bottom in his heart, the supreme bone has not been reached, and the phoenix essence and blood have not been obtained. He is just an ordinary person now. That rebellious will, he doesn't know if he has in fact, when he had fearful thoughts, the supreme bone had already left him far away. This is also another opportunity for Suhe to cut off Lin Feng. It's starting. Feng Yisin spoke coldly. With the injection of true elements, a dazzling light bloomed on the supreme bone. A force suddenly entered Lin Feng's mind. Lin Feng now feels like a flat boat on the sea. The faint breath that emanates from the supreme bone can already intimidate his divine soul to tremble. I haven't had 3 breaths yet. Puff. A sound suddenly came out. Lin Feng suddenly spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. Ah! It hurts so much. It hurts so much. Kneeling on the ground, curled up in pain, howling in agony. This scene stunned everyone present. Isn't he also a genius? Why didn't he even last 3 breaths? The supreme bone in mid-air has not moved, let alone merged with him. What's going on? Feng Taizong looked incredulously at the genius recommended to him by the Heavenly Tao sect. He couldn't believe that the other party would be rejected by the supreme bone in such a way. This is too fast. Clenching his fists, he quickly walked up to Lin Feng. Give it a try again, it's definitely possible. As long as you have the will to defy the heavens, you can definitely. I can't do it anymore. Lin Feng shook his head and directly disrupted his words, with a hint of fear still lingering on his face. You. He didn't know what to do when the wind was too strong, and he looked at Lin Feng with extreme confusion. I don't know why, this guy should have such a reaction. But it's not yet time for Lin Feng to say more. Suhe expressed his intention and continued to integrate the Supreme Ancient and Lin Feng. A golden light began to hover around Lin Feng. But the next second, under the intense pain, Lin Feng convulsed violently all over. Then he passed out in a coma. Stop. Feng Taizong saw the situation and dared not continue to let them do so. Directly stopped Feng Yixin. He is extremely disappointed with Lin Feng now. Even if it's embarrassing, the key is that this guy himself is not a good cultivator. I can't even bear this pain, how can I become the supreme being in the future? The opportunity has come, and you guys are not useful, are you? Suhe sneered and looked at the wind too green. After being completely disappointed with Lin Feng, Feng Taizong was no longer prepared to continue staying in the Taishan Holy Land, which was embarrassing. After a cold snort, he said to Suhe. Suhe, you have the means. But I'll tell you, if this matter were to reach the heavenly Tao sect, with your strength, it wouldn't be so easy to settle this matter. The behavior of pretending to be tiger-like to this guy. Suhe just glanced at him and commented lightly. Jumping clowns. You. Su Qing had already noticed that the people around her seemed quite hostile towards her. Stay here, things won't be that easy to say. Even if the hatching of the phoenix egg is imminent now, he doesn't want to continue staying here. Turn around and prepare to take Lin Feng away. As he was about to leave, Suhe spoke to Feng Taizong with a murderous heart. I see that you are also dull in your aptitude, no wonder you haven't made any progress in your cultivation for so many years. Can't see through what I've helped. The wind is too dark. If you want your sect to be destroyed, you can continue to carry this broom star. He will eventually drag you into the quagmire. Although Suhe spoke heavily, Lin Feng still believed that Suhe was deliberately disgusting to himself. At this moment, he stared angrily at him, but dared not speak. The spiritual pet of Elder Tiandao who came to support him just now has been killed by Suhe. Unlike him, when Feng Taizong heard Suhe talk about these things again, his face felt a bit off. He also realized that things were very wrong. He and Lin Feng failed to complete the task and also lost the reputation accumulated by their Yushu immortal sect over the years. It's like stealing a chicken doesn't eat away rice. It would definitely be extremely embarrassing to say such a thing. But by this time, he had already exhausted all means. If you continue to entangle with Suhe, it will only make your own situation more embarrassing. Chapter 10. Lin Feng's Poison Strategy. You are listening at novel.Audio. Tai Xian Holy Land, today's shame, I will repay it 100 times. Seeing things have exceeded my expectations. Exposed his weakness in front of so many people. Lin Feng began to roar helplessly and angrily. Feng Taizong frowned and said. Suhe, even if it's 3 drops of phoenix essence and blood, I can't exchange your things. I think your supreme bone is too valuable. My broom is precious, I have offended the Dao Tian sect. Which sect will dare to come closer to you in the future? Seeing that he still had to talk about Phoenix's essence and blood, Suhe sneered twice and said it directly. Isn't it the 9-turn Phoenix egg? Isn't it the ancient aura within the supreme bone that can awaken the Phoenix bloodline? Do you really think I don't know anything? Do you think in the cultivation world, except for Dao Tian's sect and you bunch of lackeys, everyone else is a fool? As soon as these words were spoken, even Feng Taizong's face suddenly changed. What do you want to do? What are you doing? The supreme bone is in my hands, and this is the chance for me to do whatever I want in the Tai Xian Holy Land. Suhe sneered twice, and a chill had already appeared on his face. At this moment, even the wind was too strong and panicked. The 9-turn phoenix egg is their most important task. Dao Tianzong also knew about this news before arranging for someone to collect it. But what was supposed to be a safe bet, due to the appearance of Su River, deviated from the established direction. If this matter cannot be accomplished, there is little possibility that Lin Feng will be punished by Gu Qingxian. But if the wind is too strong for me, I will definitely be unable to eat and walk around. I warn you, this time not only the Yushu immortal sect, but also the experts from Sanyan Mountain and Yunyao Cave will come over. If you dare to have any other thoughts, don't blame us for being impolite. Sanyan Mountain and Yunyao Cave are also major gates. However, compared to the size of the Taishan Holy Land, it is still slightly inferior. But working together, we can definitely fight against Su River. They are also the second layer of protection provided by the Dao Tian sect to them. The atmosphere between the two sides suddenly became deadlocked. Now things are very difficult to handle. Many people are concerned that the Taishan Holy Land may have disputes with other sections. If there were to be a fight, they would definitely suffer significant losses. Suhe had already known about their deployment. Phoenix Egg only recognizes the supreme bone. If I don't go, can anyone else hatch it? As soon as they spoke, Lin Feng and Feng Taicang exchanged a glance. At this moment, Lin Feng suddenly thought of a poisonous trick in his heart. Suhe, if you have the ability, come over. We are always waiting at the 100,000 mountains. Suhe wants to seize this opportunity, but it also depends on his own strength. Lin Feng believes that all the people from the three major sects have reached the 100,000 mountains. Their experts can definitely help themselves seek revenge and directly kill Suhe. At that time, the supreme bone will still fall into my own hands. Okay. Then I'll go. Suhe laughed heartily. He had already seen through Lin Feng's thoughts. It's easy to understand this kind of guy who is happy and angry in his appearance. Feng Taicang glanced at Lin Feng with some surprise. But after Lin Feng gave him a glance, he also understood what this guy meant. Suhe, since you agreed, I'll be waiting for you in 3 days. Don't let us down. That's for sure. Upon receiving Suhe's promise, Feng Taicang snorted coldly and left here with Lin Feng. Walking in mid-air against the wind Tucang said to Lin Feng. It's not wise of you to call Suhe over this time. If this guy knows the location of Zhouzhuan Phoenix Egg, it may cause unexpected changes to our plan. The supreme bone is in his hand, without it, we can't do anything. Lin Feng's hatred towards Suhe has reached its peak. He wished he could shatter Suhe into pieces now, even though Lin Feng doesn't have this kind of strength. But he can rely on the power of the Dao Tian sect. Gather all forces and strangle Su River. This is indeed a solution, but we need to wait until he hatches the phoenix egg. Yes, he must not be allowed to recognize the master. Prepare the natural resources and treasures first. The 9-turn phoenix egg requires tremendous strength during hatching. Only Tian Kai Dibao can provide it. Sanyan Mountain and Yunyao Cave, in order to receive phoenix essence and blood. We each produced a batch of natural resources and treasures. In order to provide as much power as possible to the 9-turn phoenix egg during the incubation process. The same goes for the Yushu immortal sect. In order to bring this opportunity to Lin Feng, Emperor Dao Tian also spent a lot of money to equip him with a Qiankuan lock. Just use the Qiankuan lock to lock the hatched phoenix. The other party can recognize Lin Feng as the master. So as to provide Lin Feng with a great opportunity for him to cultivate. Suhe remembers that in the original development, Lin Feng could have received an extremely powerful guard. But because he took too much essence and blood, coupled with his unrestrained use of the other person for cultivation. Finally, after the birth of the 9 transformations phoenix, there was only cultivation in the realm of martial arts. Later on, he was constantly being exploited, even unable to keep up with Lin Feng's cultivation speed. The two quickly arrived inside the 100,000 mountains. There is already a man and a woman standing here. The man has a waxen complexion and a square face, with a short stature. Wearing a black Taoist robe embroidered with clouds. He is the current mountain owner of Cangyun Mountain, named Sun Chongqing. The woman has a beautiful appearance, seductive eyes, and is wearing a light yellow flowing cloud-long skirt. She is the cave owner of Yunyao Cave, named Liulian. Because they were seeking help from the Taoist heavenly sect, the two of them arrived here a long time ago. Sun Shanzhu, Lu Dongzhu. When he saw the two of them, Feng Taizong walked forward and greeted them with a fist. The two nodded and then turned their gaze to Lin Feng. They have long heard of Lin Feng's experience. It is said that Lin Feng has some connection with the head of the Daotian sect. So their attitude was also extremely enthusiastic. This is Lin Feng, indeed a talented person. He has already reached the peak of martial arts cultivation at a young age, and his future is definitely limitless. I have long heard that the Taoist heavenly sect has discovered a peerless genius, and today I see that he is truly extraordinary. Their words made the nearby Feng Taizong's mouth twitch. Although Lin Feng's cultivation looks decent, especially at this age. There is no need to boast like this, there are many geniuses in various sects who are more powerful than him. They were able to say these words purely because of the face of the Daotian sect. Feng Taizong, like them at the beginning, also had the intention to establish a good relationship with Lin Feng. After really watching Lin Feng's performance, Feng Taizong was actually very disappointed. He thinks this kind of person looks like a white-eyed wolf. Even if he helps him in the future and reaches a high level of cultivation, it is impossible to give back to the Jade Void Immortal sect. It has to be said that Suhe showed him the inner world of Lin Feng in the main hall before. It has indeed caused a significant impact on Feng Taizong.